there's plenty going on in the NFL, and this is the week where tampering will be rampant. Plenty of talk about free agency, who's going to re-sign, who's going to get tagged. There's another week to go until the franchise tag deadline arrives. And the Cowboys made it known, sort of, yesterday, that they're leaning, I think the magic word from Stephen Jones, the executive VP, was we're leaning toward applying the franchise tag to receiver George Pickens. He had a career year, finally paired with a competent quarterback, 1,429 receiving yards, second-team All-Pro. Sims would say, based on film review, by the end of the year, the defenses were giving him more attention and respect than they were to C.D. Lamb. Jerry Jones, after that Raiders Monday night game, on and on about how poetry in motion, or words to that effect. And look, he's gotten to the point where he deserves a long-term contract, but the collective bargaining agreement authorizes teams, one per year, squat on a free agent with a franchise tag, and it looks like that's what they're going to do. And, you know, there's a lot to unpack here as it relates to what the ramifications will be, but this is the Cowboy way. They're not going to overpay for anyone, and if they can get away with keeping this guy for 1 year and $28 million, they're going to do it.
They traded a third-round draft pick to get him. Great trade, as it turns out. He had a franchise year, as you said, Mike. You can argue he was better than CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb was banged up last year. I think CeeDee Lamb is the better receiver. They're not going to pay him as much as CeeDee Lamb. They're going to try to get him to a long-term deal. They need him to make their offense click. They were a better offense with him on the field. All the numbers suggest, if you look at them, all the analytics, on the field, 7.9 yards per attempt, 68% completion. Off the field, 4.5 yards per attempt, 58% completion. He made Dak Prescott a better quarterback, no question about it. What did that get you? Like, you didn't make the playoffs. You had a losing record. Your defense was historically bad, gave up the most points in franchise history. I don't know how you do it, how you pay him what he wants, and that's what they got to figure out, and I'm glad I don't have that job. Because they got to make this defense better if they're going to do anything. I think they can get better quickly. I think they can win that division if they get their defense better. But you got to go spend the money on the defense. You got to go spend the 2 first-round draft picks on your defense. And if you do that, you have a chance to get really good. So what can you afford to pay this guy to keep him, to make your offense better, to still have enough money to make your defense better?
George Pickens, to me, is the rare player that leaves the Steelers and then somehow gets better. Right? I mean, when you think about guys who have left the Steelers when they were under Mike Tomlin, which is now still weird to say that they're not, guys don't usually go and get better. Usually when they leave the Steelers, something weird happens. I mean, think about Antonio Brown, right? All the weirdness that then was apparently being covered up by what was going on with the Steelers, and then he goes elsewhere and it's fine, but it's not like he was ever as productive. I think with Pickens, it's so interesting because he was a head case, and he kind of still is. But you can see the production that came when he was with Dak Prescott, especially when you have both of those guys on the field, and he and C.D. Lamb. And so I think you're right, Charean. Look, they need Pickens to make the offense go as the way that they want to. That's obvious. But then if you're going to improve that defense, then I guess it does come down to, okay, you have these 2 cost-controlled first-round picks, and that's probably the way you have to use them. Otherwise, I mean, you're not going to get better by taking George Pickens away from that offense. And so is it just for 1 year that you make this work, or is it then a long-term thing? And then also long-term, can you balance having both Pickens and C.D. Lamb? That, to me, especially just knowing what we know about George Pickens' history, that's interesting.
This is a thread I want to pull because I've been a George Pickens fan and defender since he got into the league, because the first time I saw the guy play, I thought he had ridiculous high-end potential. And sometimes I get dragged internally for suggesting that he could be as good as Randy Moss, but he can have that kind of impact on a game if he gets the opportunity to do it. And in Pittsburgh, and it is a weird twist on the idea that a receiver leaves Pittsburgh and gets better, because it has been. Guy's great in Pittsburgh, goes somewhere else, and it falls apart. Free agent, goes somewhere else, falls apart. Teams find out, man, this guy was a pain in the ass. Mike Tomlin did a great job of keeping him together. But you could put, let's just say Randy Moss. You put Randy Moss in Pittsburgh from 2022 through 2024 with Kenny Pickett, with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, all due respect, and you're going to get the same result. You're going to get, look, Randy Moss, when he was with bad teams, was a head case.
Right.
So you got a guy who is open every play, who's open when he's not open, who will catch anything thrown his way, and they never throw it his way. There's going to be a point where it cracks a little bit. And that, I think that's an important topic here, because if he dares to push back on this mechanism that is going to hold him in place for $28 million and leave him with very few options, if he pushes back, there's going to be a backlash against him that dredges up all the stuff in Pittsburgh. This guy has no right to make these demands. He had one good year. He had 3 bad years with the Steelers. He has one good year. And who's he think he is to want more than $28 million? Well, the market's 40. Okay? This is the problem now. And I don't know how we got to the point where the franchise tag, which once upon a time guaranteed the player a high rate relative to the market, they've done this mechanism now where the franchise tag calculation lags badly behind where the market is. And it's a no-brainer for the Cowboys. Like, okay, this guy, what's he going to want? He's going to want 40. He's going to want 40 over 4 or 5 years, with the first 2 years maybe plus guaranteed. If we can keep him for 28 and we can tag him next year for a 20% bump over 28, that's easy. Yes. We're going to do that every day. And that's the core of the problem. The system allows the Cowboys to squat on him for 28, and he's going to be in a delicate spot because if he pushes back, he's opening the door to a PR problem, Charean.
Yeah, late to meetings. Didn't know if they'd show up to
Do we know late to meetings, though? Do we know late to meetings? I'm going to be the George Pickens defender. Do we know late
really
to meetings?
Yes. Well, he was late, and they didn't always know if he's going to show up to practice. And there were those type of things, just the tardiness.
But did he show up to practice? But where is it documented? Where is it? This is going to get feisty.
Yeah.
Where is it documented that he? Because there was something last week from, I think it was Todd Archer, and he made an observation at the end, and one of the Dove bots on Twitter took it and twisted it into something more than it was. Yeah. And I've been looking like, where is the documented evidence that this guy was late for anything other than the thing in Las Vegas that CeeDee Lamb was late for, too? They were out at a casino or something like that, missed a bus, something. There was something.
Well, other than,
No. But my point is this. If we're going to say this guy's a chronic...
Jerry has said it.
Okay.
Jerry said, and he joked about it, yeah, I've been late to things, too.
Yeah.
That was his joke. So Jerry basically confirmed that he's
do you
late.
believe Jerry?
Yes, I believe Jerry.
I don't believe Jerry.
On that subject, I don't know why we shouldn't believe Jerry. I'm going with the more Jerry expert on this one, Mike.
Look, they've got a motivation here to subtly or otherwise crap on this guy.
Sure. Okay.
We saw what they did with Micah, and they want him to take the $28 million, and they want to win the PR battle. That's the thing that I think is residing at the core of this, that is going to flash. If he would stand up and say, I'm not signing for 28. I want to trade. I'm never playing for 28. If he stands up and does that, he's inviting an avalanche of, as I was saying earlier, who do you think you are? You were late all the time. Yeah. You were a head case in Pittsburgh. And look at what he did last year. And this is where we are. What are we projecting for this guy to do based on what we most recently saw? The guy's got the chance to be a superstar. I voted him first-team All-Pro. He finished second-team All-Pro, and I think his reputation probably kept him from being first-team All-Pro. I think he deserved to be first-team All-Pro because they take 3. I see what's coming here, and I don't want to let the Cowboys get away with it. That's why I'm pushing back a little bit. They're going to try to box this guy into a PR corner where he has no choice but to take the $28 million. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.